Welcome to the Mastermind Club, your ultimate gateway into the world of Bitcoin mining. Whether you're just starting out or looking to scale your operations, our vibrant community of like-minded enthusiasts is here to support you every step of the way. Join us for weekly sessions led by industry pros, where you'll exchange ideas, brainstorm strategies, and stay motivated on your mining journey. From heat management to site optimization, our monthly deep dives cover the technical know-how you need to succeed. And with access to our entire back catalog, you'll never miss a beat. But that's not all. Our members enjoy exclusive one-on-one sessions with veteran miners, plus direct access to special pre-sales and insider opportunities at Bitcoin Mining World. Ready to take your mining to the next level? Join the Mastermind Club today and secure your spot in the future of Bitcoin mining. Visit bitcoinminingworld.com or scan the QR code now. And now back to the show.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Mastermind Deep Dive on pools and how to maximize your profits. We will be doing it's going to be a great conversation today. We've got Tommy Walker from EMCD joining us, and we have Jake Chapin who is the co-founder of East Coast ASIC Hosting. So it's going to be a great set of presentations today. Today's mastermind is brought to you by Bitcoin Mining World. We are building the next generation of Bitcoin miners, and we need your help. Go to bitcoinminingworld.com to learn how you can help us build the future of Bitcoin mining. As I said, we do have a great set of presentations today. Our first presentation will be by Tommy Walker, who is the Deputy Head of Business Development at EMCD. He will take you down the rabbit hole of understanding mining pool reward models, mining with zero commission fees, and how you can maximize your profitability. After Tommy does his presentation, we have Jake Chapin, who is the co-founder at East Coast ASIC Hosting. He'll be doing a presentation on maximizing uptime and reducing failure rates. Huge shout out to both of you gentlemen. We really appreciate your time today and for speaking to our community. This is what the mastermind is all about. We bring together different people from different parts of the sector to present and talk about their own little niche and, explain to you guys how you can build a more profitable and more economically viable Bitcoin mining operation. A few things before I hand it off to Tommy. We have some giveaways that we are going to do in today's live stream. We are giving away some hardware wallets and a Bitcoin Mining World BitX. We will do that in between the presentations, and you can only win if you are actively in the StreamYard live webinar. So go to the link, which will be shared in the chat and on your screen, to participate in those giveaways. It's going to be a great opportunity to get off zero if you don't have a Bitcoin mining, or if you don't have a Bitcoin miner. BitX is a great project. And obviously, if you're mining Bitcoin, you need to be able to store those Bitcoins somewhere. So it's going to be awesome. There will be a Q&A session at the end of today's live stream. So if you have any questions for Tommy and Jake, please write them in the chat, and I will make sure they get answered. One last thing before I hand it off to Tommy. As I said before, I'm going to bring up John Taylor. Will you tell us a little bit about the networking event that we have going on after the StreamYard live chat today?
Absolutely. I think everything working pretty good on your side.
Yeah, it looks great, man. You look awesome.
You look awesome. There we go. Anyways, we're having a networking event afterwards, and this is the mastermind connection time, where we are going to be in a Zoom, and we're going to have the opportunity for everyone to share where they're at, what projects they're working on. And, we have links everywhere. I'm going to put a link into the chat, but we'd like to see you there. So if you have something you want to talk about, an issue you would like to work out, definitely join us.
Yeah, it sounds to me like, this networking event is a great opportunity for people who want to dive further into, the problems that they are facing individually. So we can help them from Bitcoin Mining World is going to be able to help them, kind of get on the right footing.
Absolutely. So
awesome.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Well, we will see you at the networking event. All right, guys. So we are going to hand this off to Tommy. Give me a few seconds to bring him into the chat. Tommy Walker, thank you for joining us today.
Hello, everybody. Thanks for having me.
Oh, we're very appreciative of you coming and speaking to our audience, to our community. This is, like I said earlier, this is exactly what the Bitcoin mining world is trying to do. We're trying to build the next generation of Bitcoin miners, and this is how we do it, through education and empowerment. So I'm going to hand it off to you. I'm going to let you kind of just take it however you want to take it. You've got your slides ready to go. Yeah, man, this is your time to shine. I'm gonna head off to the back and you just run with it, brother.
Yeah, let's do it. Cheers.
All right, let's go.
All right. So yeah, guys, my name's Tommy. I'm from EMCD. I might have actually met some of you guys already, but for those who don't know, EMCD is one of the top 10 mining pools currently. And today we're just going to be talking about basically how to maximize your profits when mining Bitcoin. So it'd be good for people that are new to the space, but also hopefully some experienced miners in the chat can also take something from this little call we're going to have today. So I've got some slides. Just bear with me. Yes, there's me. Yep. And yeah, so I'm in charge of business development here at EMCD. So partnerships. My main focus is Europe. I apologize as well. I am obviously from England with the accent, so there might be a transcript. I hope people can understand what I'm saying. Yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah, it's the Yorkshire accent, but I'll try my best to keep it international as I can. So yeah. So like I said, EMCD, we are a mining pool, and yeah, there's a few things that sets us apart. But first, what I want to dive into is obviously no, basically we're a mining pool at heart, but we do have a little ecosystem going around that we built to kind of give our miners a bit more flexibility with their earnings. So first of all, we do have some of the lowest fees in the industry. We start at 1.5% FPPS, so that's already a low fee. We'll jump more into fees and what we can do later as well. So we do have a wallet as well in the ecosystem, but it's obviously not like a fancy exchange wallet. It is more of a utility wallet, and it's just so you can have the option to send your earnings to any wallet that you have anywhere that you want, but also the option to store it on our wallet as well. It's got 14 networks on there. The main ones, TRC, obviously, BNB. So it's got everything that you could need to transfer and exchange, that kind of thing. P2P platform, peer-to-peer platform, which is actually 0% transaction fees as well, which is it's not bad. It's not bad. So we do support some currencies like USD, euros. There's a few other currencies on there. Check it out. And again, it's just an extra service to on ramp, off ramp, that kind of thing. We have actually been going coming up to 7 years now in the market. So we're not new. We have been around, I guess, 6-7 years is like a lifetime in crypto. So yeah, we've been around, ups and downs. We've been through them all. So that's we're still here. Yeah, I've got over 300,000 users as well. I hope that they are all happy. They seem pretty happy, and that's growing as well. And we actually got rated the top mining pool of 2024 according to Terra Crypto. So that's just a bit more information on who we are for those that don't know us. And yeah, kind of moving on to more of the generalized information. So what actually is mining pools, mining, and the reward models? Because yeah, the mining pools exist to basically distribute the rewards of mining amongst the participants. So that's like as fair in a fair and efficient way. So the variations in reward models obviously cater to different miners and with different goals. So some have a higher risk tolerance and compared to others. Some want more steady income for operational costs, for example, and yeah, things like transaction fees, look factor, block reward, and regular payouts. They are obviously is how we all get paid. So it's important to know what the reward models are, what they stand for, and why you choose say FPPS over PPS, for example. And again, it is more personal preference with this as well. And some pools offer different reward models as well. So if you really like that pool, but they're not offering the reward model that you want, then obviously there's a compromise to be made there. So it is personal preference, but like I said, some pools offer FPPS, but not PPLNS, for example. So yeah, kind of to jump into each model. So I'm going to explain actually what they are. So for people that don't know about transaction fees, so every block that's mined actually includes like a base reward. So obviously every time we have the halving, that reward is halved, hence the halving. So we've just recently passed the most recent halving, so and that will keep going on and on and on. So that's more in the block reward, but the transaction fees are actually collected from the transaction within that block as well. So the transaction fees can actually boost your earnings, especially during like periods of like high network traffic, like congestion. Does that make sense? So models like FPPS and PPLNS, they do actually include the transaction fees, and PPS typically doesn't, but meaning that your earnings can actually be lower on PPS. But again, I'll jump more into that in a minute. So that is the transaction fees. So the look factor as well, this is something that's quite interesting. So mining also, it does involve a degree of like randomness or luck, as you'd call it, like just a lucky strike, lucky scratch cards, it's lucky. But a pool might mine like multiple blocks in a short period, or they'll go days without finding one. So you hear stories like this all the time, where a pool hasn't found a block in X amount of days, and depending on the reward model, depends on if they're getting paid or not for that. So that's basically it depends how quick they working out these the algorithm, like the cryptographic calculations. That's what I'm looking for. And to smooth out the impact of luck, because it can be devastating or it can be an amazing thing at the same time. It's luck, as in life and without mining. So some models like PPS, FPPS, they actually eliminate this kind of volatility of the luck. So that's why, like I say, it depends on risk tolerance as well as to which reward model you choose. Things like Solo and PPLNS, they kind of let the miners kind of bear the luck factor as such. And like I say, it can be an amazing thing and an equally devastating thing at the same time. It's just luck. So the block reward, so this is like the fixed number of Bitcoins that you actually are rewarded to the pool for mining the block, for closing the block. So these are distributed to the miners based on their contribution to the block. So things like including transaction fees in addition to the block reward is what makes the model like FPPS like an attractive reward model to go for. Regular payouts, so things like say you've got operational costs and wages to cover, and you can't really afford to wait until you hit that block. The regular payout is a very say if you want to scale a huge company, you can't build and scale on randomness and luck. So that's why regular payouts is quite important for larger scale operations. Whereas if you're like a solo miner, you've got a couple of machines, maybe it's just like a hobby thing or whatever, you can afford to go X amount of days with no payout and then hit the big payout. I mean, we've all heard these crazy stories of people with those tiny GPU minings hitting a block. It's crazy story. It's like lottery at that point, but it does happen sometimes. And that, like I say, I guess that's like getting a scratch card every day and then just hitting the lottery. So that's why regular payouts are important to others than not. So all these kind of things factor into the reward models, and the reason why we have different reward models and what makes it more attractive than the other. So things like, again, we're going to go heavy on the reward models because that's I guess the most important thing when it comes to profits, because it's how we all get paid. And the reason why we choose others over not is also important to maximizing your profits, because maybe you just don't know that there's other models out there that are better for you, and you've just kind of come into mining and always been on this reward model and didn't even know that the others existed. So I guess this is the main like premise of profits. So when it comes to like FPPS, how it actually works, so the miners are paid based on the power or the shares that they actually contribute to the pool. So the pool calculates like the potential earnings. That includes, like I said, the transaction fees in the block reward as well, and it distributes the payouts consistently. So, and that's regardless of whether the pool has actually like mined a block. So it kind of stabilizes those the lucky breaks, and FPPS is really really good for people, like I say, with operational costs, large scale operations, or people that even just with 1 or 2 miners that just want regular payout. So yeah, and like people that would be good for FPPS is obviously, like I said many times, they want predictable, steady income. You'd more go FPPS. If you want to include the transaction fees, which, like I said, can boost earnings as well, and it eliminates the stabilizers that look factor. So that's it for FPPS. The trade-off, I guess, the negative to, we've got to talk about the negatives as well, of course, is that pools may charge kind of slightly higher fees to offset the risk in kind of guaranteeing those payouts. So that is the potential downside of FPPS. So we've got to do the pros and cons, as we say. So why do FPPS include the transaction fees, whereas PPS doesn't, for example? So it takes on the, like an FPPS pool kind of takes on the risk of mining, kind of stabilizing this volatility. They kind of stabilize that by paying the miners like a fixed rate for their contributions. So to calculate payouts, they estimate like the total expected earnings for both the block reward and transaction fees, and there's more risk on the pool rather than the miner because they incorporate the transaction fees within that, and the pool actually offers a share of the overall income from all the miners together, kind of thing. So regardless of luck or whether the pool actually successfully mines a block, and again that comes on to size as well, which we'll speak about shortly. Unfortunately, yeah, size does matter in mining, so we'll talk about that shortly as well. And yeah, it makes the FPPS payouts kind of higher and a bit more predictable. But as I said, the downside is the transaction fees can be high. No, like in periods, obviously the transaction fees are always up and down. So it's trying to make it as stable as it possibly can, to put it bluntly. But moving on to like the PPS, and like I said, we'll have some questions at the end as well. So I'll try not to ramble on too much. And if there's any specific questions, we've got Q&A coming up. So yeah, we'll get into that. Moving on to PPS, which is pay per share. So it's kind of similar to FPPS, but the transaction fees are not included, typically not included. So miners are paid for the shares based only on the block reward itself. So again, it kind of offers a stability with the regular payouts based on the shares contributed, the power contributed. It removes the luck factor as well. So like I said, it kind of tries to stabilize the luck factor. The trade-offs is obviously the earnings can be lower than FPPS, especially during times of like high transaction fees, because they're not included, like I said, in the payout. So yeah, this is kind of the pros and cons of transaction fees. Is PPS in high transaction fee situations, yeah, it might be a bit less than FPPS, but it is better suited for kind of miners with smaller setups who want guaranteed returns. But yeah, FPPS and PPS are pretty similar. Transaction fees are probably the largest thing that sets them apart, hence the full pay per share and the pay per share. So full, not quite full, I guess. So yeah, why does PPS kind of exclude the transaction fees? Is a very good question. So the PPS is kind of like designed to like simple and stable, similar to FPPS, but it only pays the miners based on the block reward. So that's the fixed amount of Bitcoin, what's it, per block, per closed block. And the transaction fees are not typically included. The pool is usually more focused on kind of steady payouts rather than the block's performance, like fluctuation of the block's performance. So the kind of PPS guarantees payouts regardless of blocks closed or not, similar to the FPPS. But they often do keep those transaction fees to kind of compensate for that risk. So it's to kind of ensure the pool that has enough funds to kind of cover those payouts during the periods of this fluctuation. But yeah, again, it comes down to size as well of the pool. Yeah, so how many closed blocks per day kind of comes down to size. So we'll come into that a bit later as well. So PPLNS, so paper last end share, so the nonce, the rewards kind of depends on the contribution to the last before a block is actually found. So if the pool doesn't find a block, there's no payout. So it does include transaction fees when a block, but it does include, the transaction fee when a block is mined. So again, the difference between PPS, FPPS, PPLNS. So like, why would you choose PPLNS? So there is a higher potential earning similar to the FPPS because it does include the transaction fees. The rewards are tied to the pool's performance. So if it's a good pool, a large pool, and say you just like a pool because you trust that pool, it's an efficient pool. It's very tied to that performance of the pool. So the downside, I guess, would be the income can kind of fluctuate depending on the pool's success, and obviously luck is taken into that as well. So FPPS and PPS, luck is not really a thing, but PPLNS, it does start to bring in that luck factor, where, like I said, pools can go days not hitting a block and then randomly hit 2 in, like, I don't know. It's just luck at the end of the day. So solo is pretty self-explanatory. It's for those that want to go out on their own, solo it. So the kind of the miner kind of works independently. Size really does matter in this share model. So it kind of contributes to the obviously how much power, how much hash rate they have, how many machines. That kind of goes to finding the blocks by themselves as such. Pools that do offer, they can kind of offer their resources as well to kind of help the miner. So that's why some pools do have an option just for solo. So that's also an option to take. The rewards include the entire block reward and transaction fees, but they're only obviously paid when the block is closed. So why choose solo as such? So it's really good for large miners, large scale miners. So people with lots of machines, high hash rate, and they kind of want the maximum rewards, and they're confident in their own ability. So they are stable. Their operation is, there's like barely any downtime, and it's a large scale operation. That's why someone might go solo. But the downside is it can be extremely risky because luck is a thing as well, and machines break, stuff happens, and there's no guarantee of a regular payout when you're solo at all, because it can be, you can go days without a block, and it's kind of all on you for that. So it's good for large scales if they're very large, but the downside is it's risky in the fact that how solid is the operation? If it goes down, is there a backup kind of thing for those electricity costs, for the maintenance costs, for the wages, that kind of thing? So yeah, maybe there's funds to cover that, or maybe there's other avenues. But yeah, solo is luck is a very large factor in the solo mining. So kind of why does why would you choose these reward models? Like what makes it different? And like how do you actually make the right choice when you're choosing these? So I think I've pretty much covered this as well, but just to kind of summarize it as such. So the FPPS is really good for miners looking for predictable income. It does include the transaction fees, so it is kind of what you see is what you get, kind of all in one box solution. So it's predictable. It's steady and predictable. So it removes the variable of luck, which is a large factor to take into account. Stable payouts, and it won't expose the miner to so much volatility in their earnings as such. So stable payouts, and what you see is what you get. So PPLNS, like I said, it'll fit miners that kind of prefer the lower fees, but because like I said, FPPS, the downside is that the fees are kind of set. But they can kind of tolerate some income fluctuations, but it can be a little bit less consistent than FPPS due to the finding of blocks. So that's the main difference. FPPS to PPS is pretty much the transaction fees is probably the largest difference between them. But yeah, it's still good for people that are wanting like a steady, regular payout option. So you can see the little asterisk there as well. That's just saying that it usually has the higher fees since the pool actually bears the variance risk. So it's like I said, the pool might take those transaction fees to kind of cover the liquidity for to keep the regular payouts regular as such. And the solo mining is pretty self-explanatory. You're out there on your own, so doing the original mining, and it's really depends. Size matters on solo because yeah, it's a look, like I say, we've all heard the crazy stories, miners or people just coming into it. It's even made the news a couple of times where some guy with a little USB stick has hit a block and loving life. So it's very much like winning the lottery, and if you're wanting to scale something like that, it's not really scalable. It's like literally like scratch cards. Again, depending on the size and how much you want to scale it, solo can be a great option, but heavy risk on the luck and payouts. So yeah, that's I think that pretty much sums up most of the reward models. But like I said, there'll be a Q&A later down the line as well, and I hope that everyone understood what I was saying is the main thing. So what is really interesting, what I do want to kind of move on to now, we all understand the reward models, is kind of how to actually maximize your profits. I mean, some options for you. This is mainly focused on also EMCD, like how we could maximize the profits as such. But again, the reward model is which one you choose and which pool you go for is going to be the largest factor as to what you're earning, how much you're earning, and transaction fees can be a killer sometimes, and sometimes it can be great. So it's taking all that into account and just doing your best with it, really, as we all are. So yeah, so kind of moving on to how you can maximize with EMCD. So the really interesting thing, so let's take like a real world example. So basically, to give you a brief explanation as to what I'm going to be talking about next, it's in our ecosystem, we have an APY product, annual percentage yield, which is basically lock your earnings or crypto tokens for X amount of days, and you receive X percentage based on the token, based on the length of time, if it's fixed or flexible. Everything counts, but it's up to 14% on USDT. Like I said, the reason that we're able to offer this is we are a large mining pool. We're coming up to 20 exahash, so I think that's like 2.8% of the network, something like that, around that, that kind of goes through our pool. We are profitable, and we obviously have business goals to meet. So as like providing instant liquidity to meet our goals, we're able to remunerate that through the pool profits. That's what the coin hold is. It's a APY product, so it's an earning product. So let's compare like a real world example, just to give you some kind of quick maths. Is say we take 60 petahash, so 60,000 terahash, for example. You were to put your earnings into a coin hold, so that's like again, we do have options for 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, 1 year. So it's completely optional, flexible, where you can withdraw at any time. Fixed is where like 30 days, you have to wait until the 30 days and then you can, but you can still take it out anytime. There's obviously just conditions for, it's like calculated every 24 hours UTC time. So again, I won't bore you too much with the details, but if you are interested in this product, feel free to reach out at the end or any further questions. But so what it actually entitles is obviously you have your earnings coming in and you get charged a commission. So as we said earlier, our base commission is 1.5%. And just to give you a more of a linear graph to kind of give you a better idea with that, if you were to lock your earnings into a coin hold and kind of have them running adjacent, it kind of eliminates after X amount of months. And again, this is just based on a 60 petahash scale. If it's larger, the like ramp up period is shorter. And if it was smaller than 60 petahash, it'd be longer. But again, it's based all on how long you lock it for and how much hash rate you have and how many earnings. So again, this is not just for miners. This is also people that just hold crypto and they want a stable long-term investment. It's not going to make you rich quick, but it's stable and like a long-term steady investment that you can run alongside mining on an FPPS system, which is already stable. So what it can do basically is you get APY percentage kind of cooking while you're also earning, and it's daily payout. So that is compound interest over calculated every 30 days based on how long you lock it for. So as you can see on the graph, you've got like the regular income, the mining pool fee, which is 1.5%. And then the coin hold eventually eliminates that 1.5% fee because it's compound interest based on the earnings that you're making, and it kind of stacks. So eventually, after 3 months, you're in the positive. I know it says negative fees, but it's in the positive, if that makes sense. It's just like negating the fees is why it says like negative fees, because it's eliminates 1.5% fees. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, so as we can see, it can be quite substantial as well. Again, this data is based on the 60,000 terahash, 60 petahash model. So depending on how many miners you have, you can do this with one miner, you can do this with 1,000. It's scalable, and it's a steady long-term thing. Like I say, it's not gonna make you rich in the immediate future, but yeah. I hope that you understand that. So again, this is the CoinHold APY product, and we do have more information on that if you are interested. But that is like one option that we could offer you to maximize your earnings as a miner, and that is part of our ecosystem. Like I said, these other functions that we're trying to include in the little ecosystem that we're building. So mining pool is the heart product. It's our bread and butter. It's what we'll always do, and we've always have done. But these are just extra products that we're trying to integrate to make it a little bit better for everyone, basically. So I'll kind of speed it up a little bit. So red flags, some of these are pretty obvious, and some of these will be common sense. But we have to let you know what are some red flags to look out for when you're looking for some pools, because unfortunately there are some dodgy people out there that do not want the best for you in the community. So you have to watch out for these guys. Yeah, so it's kind of some of these red flags. Obviously, crazy high fees would be the first one, and that's to be fair, like most of the pools, you can find most of the pools on miningpoolstats.com. That's where most of the pools are listed for each token. So for those that don't know, that's how you can keep up to date with a mempool as well. So these are resources that you can use to find out different pools. So you don't just type into Google mining pool and whoever's got the best SEO is top. Mining pool stats kind of gives you the full layout of all the mining pools, so you can compare. You can see what reward models they offer. We're on there as well, obviously, and everyone else is there as well. So check that out if you do want to kind of compare directly. So when you are looking through this list, these are some things that you should look for. So crazy high fees. So also, if it just says, like, as I said, the transaction fees, also try to find out any hidden fees in the pool, anything like that, because there's different reward models, and just make sure it's fully transparent before you do get into working with these pools. I mean, obviously it's not permanent, you can always get out, but it's not nice if you join a bad pool and then it's just wasted money and wasted time. So look out for that one. Unclear information on the transactions, payout models, that kind of thing. Again, most of these websites have an FAQ. Try to fact check it. Try to find out kind of where they're getting the history of the transaction fees from. And yeah, if you know anyone also in that pool, ask how the payouts are for them personally. You can also just run a test, is what most people do. They just connect a couple of machines to each pool at the same fee, and that's probably the best way to get like your own personal. I always recommend that to just test it out yourself and see the results for yourself, because that is the best way to find out how regular the payouts, and that kind of also delayed or inconsistent payouts, things like that. If they're blocking transactions for some reason. And again, that also ties into the lack of security. So two FAs is just basic bog standard SSL. These are things that, yeah, been around for years. So if they've not got these, that's a big red flag. I mean, in any crypto website that you visit, 2FA SSL is like, yeah, it's been around a while. No live tech support. It's not a massive red flag if there's no live tech support, like an actual human, if it's just all automated. But it is a red flag if you raise a question and it takes like days, or especially when it comes to like if they blocked a transaction and then no one gets back to you for like a couple of days, it's you're sat worrying, and yeah, you might make a bad decision based on feelings. So always check out the support, and you can do that just by simply writing in before you actually join it, and just test the response out, just see how you feel. Are they polite? Are they not? Are they helpful? Do they know what they're talking about? That kind of thing. And again, live or not, it's I guess the main thing is quality at the end of the day. And if it fixes your issues, it doesn't really matter if it's a human or a robot. The main thing is your issue gets fixed. So suspicious community, this is kind of ties into crypto as a whole. We've all seen those suspicious groups where it's just like bots, like tens of thousands of subscribers and zero engagement. Stay away from those people. I don't know. It's yeah. So again, this kind of comes down into, do you actually know anyone in that project or that pool? Can you get a first-hand experience or feedback? And if you look online and everything's positive, that's also usually a red flag, because you can't make everyone happy. You just got to do your best. There's going to be pros and cons to every project, and if everything's positive online, definitely a red flag, because it's not just the internet, but in real life, like there's going to be some pissed off people there. So suspicious, red flag, yeah, whatever you want to call it. And no real-time watcher link is also a red flag. So kind of if you connect your miner and there's like a delay in the any kind of delay in monitoring or earnings, is costing you money at the end of the day. So if something goes wrong and you don't find out about it live, like while it's going wrong, then it's just wasted time and wasted money. So again, make sure that they do offer real-time statistics and watcher links when it comes to mining, like actually see your hash rate, see the rejection rate, that kind of thing. It's very important to a miner. So again, we all need that information ASAP, not delayed. So Again, just kind of some of our benefits, just to kind of finish off the chat. I think I'm coming up to my time, so I'll speed run this last one. So we do listen to our customers. We try to make it as like easy as it can. Like, as you can see, that dashboard, it should be super simple. I've seen some pools that are like Windows 98 kind of style, and it's a bit overbearing. So we do try to make it as simple as possible. So you can see all your statistics. You've got the base commission of 1.5%. You've got access to your watcher link. We do have Stratums in the US as well. So it's also good. Coin hold up to 14%, as I've mentioned briefly. Again, more information, ask away. Live support, it should be 24/7. Not sure what happened there, but it should be. We are 24/7 live support. Yeah, so that's, I guess, some of our benefits as well. And also API integration for separate. We're pretty flexible at the end of the day. So based on what you need, let's just have a chat and see what we can do. So this is the last bit from me to kind of sum it all up. As you can see, 0% fees. This is crazy. So as I said, test the pool. Always test the pool before you actually go all in. I'd always recommend that. I'd never recommend anyone to move the whole fleet over, because not only is it time consuming, we've all been there manually configuring each machine. It is a dull process, but it's something that needs to be done. So before you make that huge dive into a new pool, always test it. It's just always test it with a couple of machines. It takes a couple of minutes with a couple of machines. So yeah, special for you guys, we are offering a welcome bonus, and this is only for new users that haven't joined us already. So these can be 0% fees for a month with using this promo code. There's also my Telegram there in the far right. So scan it, send me a message, send me a wave. I'll say hello. I'm active on there, don't worry. And also the QR code to our website is also there. If you are mining over the 10 petahash or more, we can offer you the 0% fees. But yeah, let's just open up a conversation. Scan me there or scan the website. Get in touch with any of the team. We'll always be happy to help. And yeah, I hope that I have answered some of your questions for maximizing, especially the reward models. I guess that's the main thing. But yeah, we're here to help, and yeah, I hope that I have helped some people here today.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that, Tommy. That was a great presentation. We learned quite a bit. We're going to do a quick Q&A for you, Tommy, real fast. We're going to try to get through this as quick as possible. So the first one is, statistically, what are the chances of solving a block solo mining with a proxy with BZTV?
With what? BZTV?
BZTV.
Say again. B.
So it was on the screen. Statistically, what are the chances of solving a block solo mining without a proxy with BZTV? I'm not sure what BZTV is.
I'm not sure. BZTV. I'm not too familiar with the BZTV. But in general, solo mining, if it's like with a small, I don't know if it's a GPU or CPU, but is like millions to one. I mean, it's a crazy look, but it does happen. It's not impossible is the main thing, but the statistics are against you. I can say that, but yeah.
Okay, yeah. So he meant BTC. That makes sense.
I was like, BZT. I was like, what machine is this? Okay, so yeah, like I say, it's the same answer. The statistics are against you, and again, it depends on size. Size does matter.
Yeah, absolutely. You're basically playing the lottery if you're, one miner, or even, as much as 100 miners. All right. So our next question is from Christopher. Via Pool uses PPS plus. Is this the same as FPPS?
Yeah and no. So it's yeah. So FPPS is like it's like the extension. PPS plus is similar to FPPS, but it's basically the transaction fee is included. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, it is. It's a pretty popular method for the transaction fees to kind of be stable as such.
Awesome. Awesome. So our next question is from Ronald Watkins. How can you tell if a pool is keeping or distributing parallel assets?
That's a very good question. Yeah. So everything's immutable on the blockchain as such. So it's trying to find where to look. I mean, unfortunately, it does happen. I'm not going to say that it doesn't. There are some people coin taking, coin scraping and such for the large. But again, this is let's keep it positive in this chat. But yeah, everything's listed and everything's kind of accessible. You just need to know how to look and where to look. It's not an easy process, but it is possible by cross-referencing a hell of a lot of information. But yeah, it's
sure.
yeah. Specifically, yeah, the process is long and grueling, but everything is possible. It is immutable. So
our next question is from Raul Antonio. Is there a difference between FPPS and FPPS Plus?
FPPS and FPPS Plus. Again, not much difference, to be fair. When you're looking at these reward models and kind of the hidden fees within each one, it is similar to what I said about testing the pool first. It's also a good idea to just get in touch with the support, because some, like Vi said, they do offer, if you look on the mining pool stats, it kind of says what reward models they offer, but they offer quite a extensive range of different ones. So get in touch with them and find out kind of the transaction fees that are fixed in that as well. And any hidden fees you can find most of this in the FAQ as well, but actually speak to them and find out how much they're charging in the hidden fees that are sometimes not obvious when you first join.
For sure. So next question comes back from Richard. Is there a way to go around, or is there a way around going through a pool? So can you go around pools?
In what way? Is in like make your own pool, or is in like just?
I would imagine, he's mining. How can he go around using a pool? Is there a profitable way to go around using pools?
Around, as in like avoiding?
Like, yeah, as in avoiding using a pool. Yeah,
I mean, you can just as we said, you can just solo it if you really wanted to, or if you had the funds and the resources, you could just make your own proxy as such. That's also an option that some people do. Again, it depends on scale. Some large operations just simply set up their own pool and just crack on themselves without joining a third-party pool or joining a proxy, white label, anything like that. Some just get up and do by themselves. So there is, you can, it just depends on resources and size.
For sure. And it goes back to just the statistics of actually being able to mine a block based on the size. So our next question comes from Ed's DIY Solar Farming. I mine 100% on solar. Mining is automated, dependent on available solar, so may shut down if sun goes away for prolonged periods and shuts down at night. What's the best model in this situation?
Best model. So pure solar power, so solar mining. I mean, are operation costs involved, or is it all just like?
Well, I mean, there's definitely hardware and infrastructure costs involved, but he's basically getting all of his electricity for free because it's being generated by solar.
So yeah, again, FPPS could be a good model if you're wanting steady on those downtimes when you're not able to mine. FPPS does still ensure regular payouts. It's what I also mentioned. It's just transaction fees. They are included, but it's more effective when the network is congested for the network fees. So because FPPS is like a set It's that kind of thing. So I'd look more at FPPS in that situation.
Awesome. Thank you. So our next question comes from Modern Mining. Hey, Tommy, does EMCD plan on opening pools for smaller coins at any point? I'm a GPU miner at heart.
Yeah. So we're always looking at, again, this kind of comes into the community as well. Check us out on Telegram, or I keep calling it Twitter, X, Twitter, whatever. We're always like listening to what coins and tokens people want. So if there's enough demand for a certain token, we're always integrating it. Like we integrated Bells recently, Fractal Bitcoin as well. We're obviously looking now at the Pepe and stuff like that that's kind of coming into the scripts. So yeah, to answer your question, if there's a high enough demand for a certain token, we'll always look at integrating it 100%.
Okay, awesome. So this question kind of ties into that. Do you guys support Litecoin and its merged mine tokens? That's from Sanjeev.
Yeah. Litecoin and Doge, yeah, and similar the other script coins as well, that like the Pepe. I guess that's really recent, but we're actively looking at that. But we do support scripts as well. We do Doge, Dash. I don't know who's still doing Dash, but maybe there's some guys in here that mine Dash. We do support it. Yeah, Fractal, Bitcoin, Ethereum Cash. So yeah, Litecoin is in there as well.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for that. So we have our last question for you, Tommy. This is from JJ at Bitcoin Mining World. I want to teach my 12-year-old son how to mine crypto. What first steps would you recommend?
Oof. Getting him young. Basic for his Christmas. Yeah, that's lucky kid. I mean, yeah, check out you guys. I mean, you guys are educating, and there's plenty of resources on YouTube as well, but educating platforms, and some pools also offer an academy, so like to get them involved in that. But yeah, I mean, I'd send them to you guys to learn.
Awesome. Yeah, well, we do have plenty of opportunities for people to learn how to mine Bitcoin and how to get started. I mean, it's kind of our bread and butter over here. Yeah, Ron, imagine holding BTC as a 10-year-old to retirement. I mean, that'd be insane. You probably only need like 20,000 sats to really be wealthy at that point. But anyways, Tommy, I appreciate your time today. I appreciate you speaking to our community. We're gonna jump into our next presentation. I know that I promised that we would do a giveaway for the hardware wallets, but we're having some technical difficulties. Rest assured, if you are live in the StreamYard chat at any point throughout this conversation, you will be entered into all of our giveaways, but we're going to be doing the giveaways live in our networking event. So go to the link at the bottom of your screen right now. I'm going to share it one more time. Let's see here. Networking event. Scott, will you remove that thing real quick so people can scan the QR code? Let's see. There it is. So scan that QR code, join the networking event, and you will be able to watch that giveaway live. We're doing 2 hardware wallets, and we're doing 1 BitAxe. But thank you, Tommy, so much for everything today. We will see you at the networking event.
I'll see you there, guys.
All right. Oh, guys, that was awesome. That was a great presentation. Now, next up, we have another great presentation from Jake Chapin. I'm going to bring him up on stage. Jake, thanks for being patient with us today. I appreciate you.
Yeah, I've been looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. So same thing as what we did with Tommy, man. I'm gonna just throw it off to you. I'm gonna give you the opportunity to just introduce yourself, and you got about 30 minutes, give or take, and just do what you wish.
Okay, sounds great.
All right, man. I appreciate you.
All right, so my name is Jake. I am one of the co-founders of East Coast ASIC Hosting. We do premium hosting, mostly in Kansas. We have some self-hosting down in Texas that we do. A little bit off-grid stuff too, and we've had really good success rates with our maintenance programs at our facilities, and we just thought we'd probably share it and give some tips and tricks, and maybe help people keep their uptime up and everything. And East Coast ASIC Hosting basically formed out of two two repair shops. It was East Coast ASIC with my partner Vince, and then KCSIT Kansas, which was my shop. And yeah, it's been going great. We love the hosting side a lot more than the repair side. It's a little bit easier, but yeah, so we'll just get started. So we kind of look at our uptime and keeping everything up from kind of like a more of a whole model, from the facility, the firmware, the environment that we're running in, and the equipment. We find that doing this really helps prevent failures at the equipment level, which is obviously that's where all your money is made, right? So it kind of starts with most of the time we start with firmware. Most of our hosting clients, we allow them to have, for the most part, we let them have whatever firmware on there that they want. There's only a couple that we don't allow in our facility. But we've found that using aftermarket firmware, particularly on Bitmain, really helps keep the uptime up. There's a lot of situations where we would normally have to pull a miner, let's say like a fan goes down, on stock firmware, that's going to keep you from mining. Or sometimes there's just little things in the Bitmain firmware. The machine's actually fine. If you switch it over to third-party firmware, temp sensors is one. You can actually get it up and going, if not permanently, at least temporary. If it's something like a fan, or just like something low in the power supply, obviously we'll get it back up and going for maybe a few days if we need a little bit more time to get to it, and it can just kind of prolong that time frame, and we can be mining while we're waiting to get that repair done and everything. One of the other biggest things that they have is they basically adapt the board to they adapt how they're running the board to the environment and basically the abilities of the board. So if there's a malfunctioning chip, you can kind of work around that. You can essentially tune down the miner just a little bit and keep it going in service a little bit longer, prolong that hashing as long as you can. And then also another thing, it doesn't happen very often, but if there is a larger issue in the facility, such as a failed exhaust fan, or maybe we had something happen and our high out containment is messed up, we can actually lower multiple machines all at the same time, and that can get our hash rate back up and everything. You won't be running at full, but running at a lower hash rate is better than running at nothing. The next thing that we look at is environment. We always, whenever we're designing a facility, even if it's a container, even if we're mining the containers, we're always looking at airflow as the number one consideration. And it doesn't matter if it's hot air. The hot air is gonna take off the heat just like the cold air will. This includes the hot out containment. So one of the biggest things I've found whenever I've gone out as a repair shop, and we've gone out and gone outside to other either hosting facilities or just self miners, and they're having problems with multiple machines, or it's just kind of all over the place. They're having failures. A lot of times they're not doing hot out containment. They have a bunch of gaps in between their machines, and the hot air from the machines is actually just kind of recirculating all. You're basically almost like a convection oven. you're just recycling that hot air, and that's never good. And I think a lot of people, they don't really put as much effort as they should into that. So that's the number one thing when we're going out on a site and assessing things. Another thing is tailoring the miner that you're gonna plan on using to the type of environment that's gonna be placed in. Humid places like Houston, Florida, especially Florida is horrible. But you got cheap electricity, you're gonna run your miners, right? But pit miners are gonna be better suited to those environments. Like humid environments, you might want to run Watts miners if you can, even though they're a little bit less efficient. And then try to avoid some of the miles that are particularly bad in humid environments, like the S1995 and the Pro 110s. Those do notably bad in a humid environment. And then also another thing that's come up recently just this year is with the release of the 21 series, a lot of guys were finding that they would run maybe like 200 S19s in a container, and that was fine, with the fans and everything that was designed for. But if you throw a heavier miner in there like an S21, you can't really throw 200 machines in there. The machines are going to overheat, and you're just going to have all kinds of random problems. Then the next thing is equipment and just maintaining your machines on a regular basis. At our facilities, we blow them out a couple times a year. We also blow them out anytime that machine comes off the rack. It only takes a couple minutes. We blow them out again. Any bit of dirt that you can get off of there is going to be good for it. And you might only have to spend an extra 2 minutes blowing out the dust, but think about how much time you're going to save. If a machine actually, if it just prevents 1 or 2 machines from going down in the future, you've already made that time back. Especially if you're, and that's especially true if you've got staff on hand to handle all this stuff. That's less manpower that you have to pay for and everything. Another thing is, this kind of goes back to some of what I was talking about with the firmware, but it's okay to put off some of the maintenance temporarily. Like I said, things like fans, if they go down in our facility, and like I said, we let our customers pick their firmware for the most part. If they've chosen to run on stock firmware, fan goes down, something like that, we'll just go ahead and pop on aftermarket firmware. We usually use a Venus for it, but we'll disable the fan, get it back up and going, and we're not gonna put it off for too long. You don't want to run in at a lower pace or anything for too long, but we'll make sure to note it, and we'll get back to it in the next few days, and that can kind of prolong it. That can prolong your hashing for you. A lot of times I've been out to farms, and they've got a stack of machines sitting there, and all they need is fans or something. You could have left those on the rack, just load the firmware real quick, and then once you replace that fan or whatever, take the firmware back off. If that's what the customer wants, or leave it back on. Kind of up to the customer a lot of times. And then another thing is that I also see a lot of times is people just, equipment will fail. Worse is when a power supply goes out, because then your fans aren't running or anything, and it'll just sit in the rack. And I think people don't realize that when that machine's off, you're basically just opening up a hole in your hot out containment, and now you got hot air, pulling back in through the other machines, And if you actually, depending on the size of your facility, if you got a big facility, you can actually look and see, and a lot of times you can see red lights, all around where that that machine that's off is, especially if it's hot out. And then another thing that we always do, anytime we're doing anything for maintenance, whether we're taking the machine off to clean it, or we're taking it off because we got to change out a control board, we got to pull a hash board, whatever. In addition to blowing everything out, something that only takes a couple minutes but might save you a lot of downtime is just tightening those power rail screws. These machines are running in a pretty harsh environment, and they vibrate. You got fans running not just on that machine, but on all the fans on that whole rack, and those screws can vibrate loose a little bit sometimes. So just tighten those every time. It's kind of like blowing it out. You're only spending an extra like 30 seconds. It's not that big of a deal, and those little things can definitely help keep your uptime up. So yeah, so one of the reasons we've been really successful at doing this is that we come from a repair background, maybe not so much as of a business background, but like I said before, the number one thing I see whenever I go out and I work on someone else's site, if they're calling me out because they have issues with machines being down and stuff like that, it's almost always has to do with repair of the miners. And if you can prevent having to repair them, or just maximize your time by doing the little maintenance while they're doing these little things while the machine's already out of the rack and everything like that, you can have a lot better uptime and a lot better profitability. And I know for my partner and I think the biggest thing for us is just the headache, right? We don't want us or our staff to have to troubleshoot or fix things in the rack. We've got other things we can be doing too. So yeah, and then also, like I said before, we kind of look at it from maintaining it from a whole facility approach. Just fixing the machine is one thing, but if you can fix little things here and there and tweak them, whether that be like better filtration, better airflow, things like that, it's going to pay for itself in the long run. And yeah, it'll just the reduction of manpower requirements alone is gonna help a lot in that increased profit and everything. So I think that's all I had today.
Awesome. Here, let me share my camera. Thank you, Jake. What I really appreciate about your presentation, especially coming off of Tommy's presentation, is, a lot of people when building out their mining operations, they don't really take into account like the little things that can save them a lot of time and money. And so what you've done is kind of just laid out, some of these things that don't really take very much time for your operators to go in and do, but really will save you a lot of money and time on the back end.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, I've been to a lot of facilities, and I've never seen one that's perfect. You're always going to miss something, or you're gonna look at it like a year later and say, oh, well, I should have done that here, but maybe it's a little bit too late, or maybe I'll add it later,
Yeah. I do have a question. As someone who goes to different mining operations and helps with, uptime and maintenance and stuff, what are some of the biggest things that you see that operators are not doing, other than some of the stuff that you kind of discussed previously? But like, what are some of the biggest takeaways that people should have when building out their mining operations, things that they can do that you've been seeing haven't been being done properly?
I think the biggest one probably is hot aisle containment. And I will give it to some of these guys. There are some some places where you really don't need that high dial containment. But those are kind of few and far between. Those are facilities that have, they're typically in a huge warehouse, and you'll see them. The machines are kind of spaced a little bit further apart, and they have massive exhaust fans. There's so much airflow going through there that they're not able to pull the hot air back through.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's probably the biggest thing, is just underestimating that. And even little, little maybe like quarter-inch gaps in your high dial containment, it can cause some issues. So
for sure. So John Doe here is asking, how can we get in touch with you?
So you can, I can post my contact info on there. I'm on Telegram. It's at KS Crypto Solutions.
Yeah. So what I'll tell everybody watching is, if you join our mastermind club, Jake's going to be in our mastermind club group chat on Telegram. You can connect directly with him there, or just reach out to Bitcoin Mining World, and we can make that connection for you. Our next question is from Richard. Can you run diagnostics with a UTM without having to derack your ASIC? Reach out to me. I have exclusive North American rights to sell them. Kind of confused on I guess he's just asking with UTM without having to derack your ASIC.
It's kind of difficult too. Yeah, it's not really practical, honestly, because you still have to pull it out to get access to the boards and everything. We'll do some stuff like that if we're just like reprogram some EPROMs or something like that. I think that's probably the only use case I could see for that scenario.
For sure. Awesome. So we have another question, guys. We only got a couple questions for Jake. So if you have any questions, please type it in the chat, and I'll make sure to do that before we close up the stream. So Richard asked again, any recommendations for a brand model to blow out your ASICs, and does dehumidifying the pressure blower make that big of a difference?
It kind of depends. I mean, so I've got one compressor in my shop that we don't dehumidify or anything, but that one gets drained out probably twice a day, I think.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not gonna get anything to dehumidify the air, I would at least drain the tank on your compressor once or twice a day or something like that. I don't think it's gonna make a huge difference, but every little thing you can do is gonna help in the long run, I think.
Yeah, I've got a correlation. So I used to paint cars, and when you're painting cars, you want to make sure you're running clean, dry air through your air compressor. So we used to get these little things that we could put on the air compressor tank that would suck out the moisture, and then on the airline as well. I'm not exactly sure what the fitting is called, but Amazon sells them. It's like a little fitting that goes in between your blower gun and your air compressor line, and it just pulls the moisture out of it. I would also recommend draining the tank, as you said, but that's just kind of like a little added protection. You don't want to introduce moisture to your ASICs like whatsoever.
Yeah, and you can give them a Harbor Freight too. You don't need to. To be honest with you, you don't need anything too fancy with these things. But yeah, like a little. I think they have the little inline ones. I think are like $10 or something,
Mm-hmm.
and you can get the ones that you actually screw into the tank. I think those are a little bit more, like 50 or 100 for one of the less expensive ones.
Yeah,
you can get crazy with it, but you really don't need to go over $100 on these things.
For sure. And they're called desiccant filters. That's what they're called. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. So, I mean, one other thing that I'm curious about, how often do you see in these mining operations where cable management is not kind of taken into consideration?
All the time.
All the time. And would you say that like cable management is one of those things that people should take into consideration? I know that people just kind of slap these things in there and don't really make it look clean, but I would imagine that that's kind of a dangerous scenario, especially with tripping hazards and stuff like that.
Yeah, and really, I think the biggest thing for me when it comes to downtime on that kind of stuff is that if you have good cable management and everything, you're not going to be pulling out you unplug the power cord, you unplug the Ethernet cord, and when you pull out the monitor, you're not going to be taking nearly as much of a risk as pulling the pulling cables from some other machine that's next to it, and that also kind of goes back to a little bit of safety too, because if you're pulling back on it and it snags, and you're not standing firm or something, you could fall over, you could drop it, or I've hit my I've been pulling it and hit myself in the face with one. That doesn't feel too good.
I'm sure it doesn't, man. Well, awesome. We don't really have any more questions. I just want to say I appreciate you taking the time to speak to our community about, mine management and safety and uptime. It was very enlightening, especially for our newbies who haven't, really dove into actually building a Bitcoin mining operation.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Awesome. Well, Jake, if you want to stick around, feel free to do so. We would appreciate you in the networking event afterwards. But with that, I'm going to send you to the green room.
Okay, sounds good.
Alrighty, guys. Well, this was our mastermind deep dive for December 6th. It was a great deep dive. We had Tommy Walker and Jake Chapin. Real quick, I just want to give a shout out. So Bitcoin Mining World has several turnkey mining sites available for purchase in the US. We have sites in Texas, Oklahoma, Oregon, Tennessee, Kentucky, and more. Everything from about 0.5 megawatts all the way up to 200 megawatts. Bitcoin is pumping right now, so it's really the best time to get into Bitcoin mining. If you're interested in purchasing a turnkey site and would like information on some of these sites that we have available, you can message John or Yannick directly, and they can help you. They should both be in the networking event as well. Next week, we will be doing, before the Christmas break, we will be doing a deep dive webinar with Dan Blaine from Marsh McLennan Agency, an insurance broker who will help us understand how we can protect our investment and sleep better at night, knowing if something goes wrong in our minds. We've got coverage to get back on track and mining very quickly. I just want to shout out the 222 of you watching live on this webinar. It's so amazing to see how much this has grown. When I first started, we had like 5 to 10 people showing up, and now we've got, over 200 people showing up to our live webinars. So it's really awesome. Bitcoin Mining World is trying to raise the next generation of Bitcoin miners and empower you guys to build profitable and economically viable mining operations. So with that, we're going to jump over into the networking event. If you guys were watching live on the StreamYard channel, you have been entered into a chance to win one of 2 hardware wallets and a BitAxe. So I'm going to share one more time on the screen the QR code for that networking event. That's the QR code right there. Please feel free to go and join. And it's gonna be starting here in about 4 or 5 minutes. So with that, guys, this was our webinar deep dive, mastermind webinar deep dive for December 6th, and we will see you in the networking event. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you for joining us in the Mastermind Club, your ultimate gateway into the world of Bitcoin mining. Whether you're just starting out or looking to scale your operations, our vibrant community of like-minded enthusiasts is here to support you every step of the way. Join us next week where you'll exchange ideas, brainstorm strategies, and stay motivated on your mining journey. Thank you for joining us, and tune in next week.